guys? Welcome back to the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcast where a year takes from a washed-up Division III cornerback and his friends. I'm your host, Grayson Jenkins, joined again by my good friends and co-hosts, Ty McGee and Ethan Sturbis. And in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down our top Week 8 topics, as well as the Week 8 games and making our predictions for those at the end. And then we have our rapid-fire discussions that we break down at the end, too, which are our sleepers of the week and hot takes of the week and more. So make sure to stay tuned for the end for that. So getting right into our first topic of the week, and this one's a fun one in my opinion. We got the Chiefs. The Chiefs just came out and absolutely destroyed the Raiders, right? They held the Raiders to, I believe, like 93 passing yards, something really, really bad for Geno Smith. And I just want to say this real quick. PFF did have Geno Smith rated higher than Patrick Mahomes in that game, which is just an absurd, another really, really bad look for PFF, and another reason why PFF should not be included on NBC Sunday Night Football, like below the introductions. Like it's a bad look having Geno below or above Patrick Mahomes in that game, in a game where Patty looked pretty damn elite, and then Geno Smith, could not get much going there. But anyways, what do you guys think? Are the Chiefs back, and are they officially one of the top contenders in the AFC and the NFL as a whole?
Yeah, I kind of had them cautiously back. Like the Raiders game doesn't mean that much to me because the Raiders, I think, are that bad. I mean, obviously, anytime that you can dominate a football team like that, um, it's super impressive. But I think there were some things in that game that Pat almost had like two interceptions in that game. Right, you're playing a better football team. You got to play better than that, and they still can't run the football that well either. There's still some concerns for me. I had them at 2 in my power rankings, but I want to see them play against some of the better teams that, they have on their schedule, right? They've kind of struggled in the early part of the season against the good teams. Obviously had a great game against the Lions and a banged up Ravens team. I'll also give them that, but the Ravens weren't kind of the Ravens that we were used to. But they still got to play Buffalo. The Washington game's kind of a wash at this point with Mariota, and they got to play Denver twice. They got to play Indy, Houston, the Chargers again, and Dallas. So some tough matchups, and I think that they're definitely the better team in most of those games. But I just can't put them as my top dog right now because I think Indy for me is dominant in a lot of different phases in the game right now with the Chiefs run game just still being a point of a struggle for them. I just don't think you know outside of maybe injecting Brashard Smith more into this offense, which they have done. I don't really think there's a solution for them because Kareem Hunt and Pacheco, I don't think they're that great of backs anymore. So yeah, not my top dog. There's just a ton of parity right now, right? I think a lot of teams can beat anyone, so I don't think it's the same old Chiefs of the past too, where they're like that much better than everyone else and they're gonna beat everyone. They're gonna run to the Super Bowl. I think there's more parity, but I do think, in the sense of where we saw them in the start of the season to where they are now, they're definitely back to a more, the Chiefs that we're more used to. So I would say they're back. Yeah.
Stir, what do you think?
Yeah, this is kind of like vintage Chiefs a little bit for me. Like I think the passing attack is all the way back. Noah Williams on the secondary has really allowed Trent McDuffie to move around. Noah Williams has been pretty incredible since coming in week 3. On 85 snaps, he's led 16 targets for a total of 46 yards when he's lining up outside as a corner. So he was a guy I really liked in the draft, and they hit there. Now they can move McDuffie around on the defense. The defense is looking better. Again, you want to see it against a little better competition, but they played the Lions and kind of held them down. So for me, they are probably the top dog in the NFL for me, just because, again, like if we're just going off of this season, I think they're like Indy's definitely in their tier. Seattle's probably in their tier as well. But the Chiefs have just like built up so much rapport with me that like I'm going to bet on them probably being the best team in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes to win MVP at this point in the season.
Yeah, for me, I think the Chiefs are an interesting team, right? Because like you said, Ty, I think it's sort of an NFL season where we see truly it being anyone's game any given Sunday. Minus a few teams there at the bottom that are just pretty trash. I think there is a majority of teams that can just compete with anyone. And I think the Chiefs, they beat the Lions, like you said, Sturb. They did beat the Ravens pretty badly when Lamar was still, well, he was healthy for the first few quarters of that game. Then he got hurt. And then I think they're a team. They did lose the Jaguars. That was a tough game as well. I think the Chiefs are a team that now that they have Rashee Rice back, you see that added just a lot of juice to their offense on the passing game. I think, like you said, Ty, if they can add a running back somehow in the trade market before the trade deadline, that would be huge for them. I think that really would bump them up a whole nother notch because, like you said, they're very, very limited on offense right now. They're pretty one sided in what they can do. The offense, yes, they can score maybe in the red zone with like a few inside runs just because they have the power of Pacheco and Hunt. They're a little bit more of those stronger running backs that can push the pie a little bit, but they're not going to break long runs by any means. They're not like guys that, I mean, you see Pacheco run 13 yards. It looks like he ran 50 just because he's just running so aggressively. And then all he gets is 13 yards out of it. So it is just a tough way to judge them because, they do have a good passing game, but the run game holds them down a little bit. In the AFC, though, this year, we've seen that it's a little bit less competitive than the NFC. I think the NFC is a little bit more total rosters, and I think some of the NFC teams are a little bit more competitive. AFC, it really is anyone. I think the Bills can compete with them. I think, the Colts are a tier in their tier. If not, I would put the Colts above the Chiefs at this point in time, just based off of how they've been playing. But I think the Chiefs are a team that can definitely compete, and I think they are 100% an AFC contender. And we'll just see how they do in the playoffs and things like that. So I'm interested to see how they do. You guys got anything to add?
No, I just want to see how
Not
the O
really.
line holds up because I think we've seen the pass game, especially this past week. It was a lot of quick game, right? And I think
Mhm.
Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes understand that they got to get rid of the ball quickly because their offensive line isn't that great. But against some teams that maybe they will play more hard press coverage, right? Like, are you gonna, I don't know what Vance Joseph's gonna dial up against them, right? That's always a good game between those two. But is the O line gonna be able to hold up against Benito and a Cooper? The Giants were able to because they have a really good left tackle, but I don't know that these tackles are really going to be able to do that. So it'll be interesting to see like how that evolves as the season goes on as well for me. But
Moving on, so Sterb did bring up the Seahawks a little bit ago as a team that can be a contender this year. So that's going to be our next topic. The Seahawks just beat the Texans 27-19 in a game that never felt as close as that final score. It always felt like the Seahawks were like very ahead. It never felt like the Texans really had a chance to come back. They did a couple times on the field, but it just never really felt. I don't think the Seahawks were ever really worried that the Texans were going to come back until maybe that fourth quarter where they had a couple drives brewing. But the Seahawks are a team, right, where they've now beat a few. I'm gonna be honest. They haven't beat the best of team. I mean, the Cardinals, they won in a close game. The Saints, they did blow out. The 49ers, they lost to the Jaguars. They beat in a close one. The Texans, I'm people are hyping up the Seahawks defense right now. The Texans offense and their offensive line is absolutely horrific. I can't overstate that enough. That their O line truly, every single team that has played them, their D line looks elite. Like it's just the O line has been torn apart by the GM himself. It doesn't make any sense for the Texans to be a team right where you had CJ Stroud in his rookie year come in, then all of a sudden they just kind of implode the team around him while drafting a couple receivers here and there. And then they did add, obviously, like Will Anderson is still going to be a good piece for them on the defense. The defense still looks really good, but that offensive side of the ball, they've sort of just taken apart for CJ Stroud, which seems like the opposite of what they should have done. That instead of building for him, they've kind of taken apart that O line and given him a few weapons and called it a day. And it's not panning out well. And now Nico Collins is out this week. But anyways, back to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a team that their offense, right? We see JSN, who is balling out right now, looking like a top receiver in NFL. And I want to ask you guys real quick, where would you put JSN in the top receiver conversation? Would you put him top 5, top 3? Kind of where are you at with him?
yeah, for me right now, I think JSN is like wide receiver 1, and I think it is kind of a situationally right with Justin Jefferson not having the best quarterback play, Jamar Chase not having the best quarterback play. Like you did see Chase pick it up a little bit last game, but I think part of it is he is aided by the quarterback, but I've been high on JSN for a while now. I think he's playing at that wide receiver 1 level for me. Will that shake out to be the case over a full season or when Joe Burrow's back or whatever? Probably not, because I still think Chase and Jefferson are better guys, but he's for sure top 5. I think like those two, him, Egbuka, like those guys are all kind of in that conversation right now. Especially Egbuka because he's playing so well as a rookie, but. Yeah, JSN for me, definitely top 5.
Sterb, what do you think on JSN?
Yeah, I think there's like a massive tier if I'm just ranking not based off of this season, but like who I'd take overall. It still is Justin Jefferson, and then Jamar Chase for me. And then you can really argue from like 3 to like 8 with like Amon-Ra, CD, JSN. Everyone has their preferences there, but for me, yeah, I agree. JSN would be top 5.
Yeah, JSN, I mean, this year, right, leading the league in receiving yards. And he's also, I believe, the leader in yards per catch with a lot of targets. I should say it's impressive. He has 16.4 yards per catch at 50 catches, which is an
Yeah,
absurd rate, especially him also having 4 touchdowns on the year, things like that. And some of the touchdowns, like the deep ball that Sam Darnold had to him against, it was Jacksonville, right? It was just a
Yeah.
ridiculous throw and catch. And JSN is making every single route look crisp. He's getting separation. Made Derek Stingley Jr. be on all fours in the end zone while he's dunking above him. And shout out to Jimmy Graham there. Saints
right
fans,
up.
a little bit of a tearjerker there. Just thinking about Jimmy Graham. But anyways, moving on back to the Seahawks. Do you guys think that the Seahawks are actual contenders? And do you trust Sam Darnold as a playoff potential quarterback to get them over the hump and get to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, the question for me really isn't about Darnold. Like, I think in the regular season they can beat any team, right? But the big question for me is the run game. To be a contender in the playoffs at that point in the season, you have to be able to run the football, right? A lot of the teams that we've seen in years past, even the Chiefs, right, at their best, Pacheco was playing well. They were able to run the football. So I think and they have good backs too, right? They have good
Yep.
backs. They're in that West Coast offense, right? At some point, I think they have to figure it out. But it just until then, right? Like I think once it comes to the playoffs, those types of teams that can run the football, like the Packers with Jacobs, like some of these other, the Eagles, even with Saquon, right? I think eventually they got to figure it out. The teams that can run the ball, that they tend to succeed in the playoffs, and right now Seattle's not really doing that. Then add in, some of the question marks about, is Sam Darnold able to compete at that point in the season? Right, we saw him kind of fall apart last year. I'd say they're definitely a contender. Are they the top contender? Are they actually going to be able to make it to the end? I don't know. I think it
Yeah.
does depend on can they get that running game going. Um, because in Minnesota they didn't necessarily have that with Aaron Jones, so maybe that would have helped Sam Darnold out. But yeah, they need to get that run game going.
Sturb, what do you think?
Yeah, Ty brought up the exact point I was going to bring up. It feels like they just can't really close out games. And when you're relying on Sam Darnold so much and pretty much just solely because your run game is constantly getting behind the sticks in the fourth quarter, like he's more liable to show the turnover worthy plays, the game swinging plays at the end of the game. And this past week, it was closer than you wanted against Houston, and that was because of the defense. So in my mind, like against a good team, against a team that's going to be better than Houston in their offense, you need one of Sam Darnold in the clutch or the run game to show face with this defense. So if you don't have either of those, I don't really think they can make like a deep playoff run. One of those has got to get turned around. And the Sam Darnold crumbling, late game crumbling, I don't buy too much into it. It is pretty random. So let's just say he doesn't do that for 2 weeks, and then you're in the NFC Championship. Like that could totally happen. But this defense is championship caliber right now, and then they're getting guys back. Like they get. I don't think Reek or Spoon was in this past game, and then we saw their D line again. Not great competition, but they're just hellacious. And I buy into Mike McDonald as a head coach. Everything just seems to be clicking right now. So I do buy into this team as a contender. But yeah, one of those two needs to get fixed if you want to feel good going into a game if you're a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, and it's weird for me because Clint Kubiak last year for the Saints, he relied very heavily on the run game, and he made the run game look very good in New Orleans, right? You had Alvin Kamara, who this year he's not able to run the ball like he was last year at all by any means. He hasn't had any real burst. Like you just aren't seeing it as much from Kamara. And I don't think that's. I mean, the Saints only added to the O line. Obviously, now from here on out, they're going to be down Eric McCoy, but they did add a left tackle, so you would think that that run game should be similar. Clint Kubiak had that run system look really, really good in those first few weeks. And now, like you said, he has Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, a decent O line, and I think he should be able to get it going. It's just it hasn't been working for them. And then Sam Darnold. I mean, I'm just pissed. I'm a little bit more biased against Sam Darnold in this game. Obviously, I had a little bit of
Salty.
rant because I had a bad beat in fantasy. I was up. I was winning my game. I'm one of the top. I'm top. Like I was top 5 in the league, going against a
You scored 70
bottom tier.
points less than the
Okay,
average, though.
I was projected like 150.
No one cares what you're projected.
I was projected 150, and I ended up with 100. And I lost to the worst team in the league because Sam Darnold threw a pick when they were up 15 in the fourth quarter, and picks are -4 in our league. So it was very, very frustrating. All I needed were like 16 points between Nico and Sam, and they couldn't bring it home. But anyways, moving on from the Seahawks to the RB conversation across the NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely went off the other night, and it's in the same year that Jonathan Taylor is absolutely balling out. You got Bijan Robinson. There's RBs across the board here. Sterb, who is your RB1 in the NFL right now, and why?
I mean, I was texting back and forth with one of my college buddies, and he's just like, I wanted to redo my RB rankings, and that was like the hardest twist I'd had to make this year. He's like, there's 6 guys, and they're all one. And for me, I feel kind of the same way. When I'm just factoring in this season, I think it is Jonathan Taylor. I think he's having the best single season. But for me, like most talented running back, who would I take to, have on my team for the next couple of years? It is Bijan because of that dual threat ability. I feel like you can literally line him up anywhere and he's going to be a threat. He's going to be a weapon for you. I mean, we're nitpicking at this point if I'm taking him over, Saquon or JT or whatever. I think it really is a matter of personal preference. Bijan's been my guy forever, even before he was on the Falcons. So that's why I like him. Not, it stung when he went to the Falcons, let me tell you. I remember Jenks was putting Bucky over this guy in the summer. That was crazy. Anyways,
I said you can be more productive this season than Bijan, but
Bijan's my guy. He just moves. All these guys have their own styles, but Bijan is just probably the best mover in the NFL for my money.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go with JT too. I think, I was between JT and Bijan. Obviously, JT leading rusher right now, 10 touchdowns, right? Bijan's not far behind with the bye week, but for me, the difference was like Bijan's helping his team win games. Like JT is really helping that team like become a dominant force in the AFC, as they're my top dog right now. And we've talked a lot about, Daniel Jones and the progression that he's made. I don't know that Daniel Jones and this team is 6-1 without Jonathan Taylor. I mean, the explosive plays, the power that he plays with, the 10 touchdowns of the 11 total touchdowns. Of the 11 total touchdowns that I can remember, like a lot of them were like 20+ yard touchdowns too, like explosive plays. Like he just brings so much to a team, and so does Bijan, right? Like, and that's why it was such a tough choice for me, because Bijan brings a little bit more as a receiver. I think JT brings a little bit more in the power game, but and like Sterb said, it kind of is like, what's your flavor of backs? But just for this year, right? Like Bijan overall, I would take him, but this year, what JT's doing with that Colts team and the dominance that they've been able to establish, for me, that's why he's my RB1.
Yeah, I gotta agree, Ty. I gotta go JT as one, and I think Bijan is obviously. I think he's number 2, and then I'd have to put Gibbs. Right now, I'd put Gibbs at 3. I think Gibbs is another guy that could be in the conversation just based on his the diversity and what he can do on the field. He can do absolutely whatever you want from him. Similar, and I mean CMC right now has like 500 receiving yards. So I'm not going to bring up receiving yards to everyone else because CMC is blowing all the running backs out of the water. But I think that all these guys can be productive. Even JT is somewhat productive in the passing game, and he's a guy that can make plays for you. But JT in the run game is just absolutely dominant right now. He's realistically could be the MVP of the season of the year if the NFL even considered other positions anymore, but it's purely a quarterback award now, and that's a shame, right? I mean, we looked at it. I mean, Saquon could have been in consideration last year if it wasn't a quarterback award. This year, JT. I mean, him creating a run game that is so dominant for the Colts provides so much less pressure for Daniel Jones. And with Daniel Jones with pressure, like that's where the iffiness in Daniel Jones' game comes in. And Daniel Jones being able to be confident in what he's doing in the pass game because of the run game just creates such a good environment for this Colts team. And that's why they're the most successful offense in the NFL at this point in time. Moving on to our fourth conversation, we got the Cowboys. Obviously, the Cowboys are kind of steamrolling back. They got CeeDee Lamb back. They just absolutely destroyed the Commanders. Obviously, James Daniels goes down, but it was already pretty much too far gone at that point. Marcus Mariota comes in and throws another pick six. So that game was not pretty for the Commanders. It's not what you want to see after last year going to the NFC Championship for them. But the Cowboys are a team, right, where we said they're going to be like the Bengals, where their defense is so bad that they can't win games. That was true for a few of them so far. But it seems like their offense is coming together. It seems like their defense is sort of slimming down on the points allowed. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Can the Cowboys make the playoffs? Yes or no?
Yeah, for me right now, it's probably a no. I think the 7 teams that are in the playoff picture, they kind of all feel like a lock to make the playoffs right now. The only one maybe being the 49ers, and I would still take the Bears to make the playoffs over the Cowboys because I think the Bears have an easier schedule coming up, especially like a long stretch after this Baltimore game. Even this Baltimore game, if Lamar doesn't play, slash, their defense is terrible.
Yep.
So you never know with the Bears, but I just think Dallas has a tough schedule. They got to play Denver, they got to play KC, Philly again, Detroit, Minnesota, the Chargers, Washington, healthy, and in Washington, and the Giants again, which they almost lost to the Giants with Russell Wilson. They're a better team with Jackson Dart. So very, very tough schedule, and to not have a defense at all. I mean, and then you lose. This week they're going to probably be without Trayvon Diggs. He's got a concussion. Like, these things just don't help your cause. I know the offense is so good, but to your point, Jenks, right? We said this is going to be the Bengals. The Bengals didn't make the playoffs last year, so I think it's. I think they have too much of an uphill battle. They kind of didn't do themselves, any favors by like losing some of these games early on that maybe they should have won. So, yeah, I just think it's too tough of a road, and the NFC has more dominant teams than them right now.
Sterb, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. Would I bet that they make the playoffs? Probably not. Kind of in like the same vein that Ty was thinking right there. Like I think the 7 teams, the wild card as it shapes up right now is Detroit, Seattle, the Rams, and then the Bears and the Panthers are ahead of them. Panthers aren't going to stay there. I feel pretty confident in that. But they have to beat out 2 teams ahead of them for them to get in the picture. And it's not a team that anyone would want to face in a playoff matchup because they are kind of matchup proof. Like the odds are that they're going to have a better offense than your defense, and then they're obviously going to have a worse defense than your offense. So that doesn't really matter. It's kind of moot. So, yeah, it is. It is a pretty like scary matchup if they do get in the playoffs, kind of like the Bengals last year. But yeah, it would be crazy if this team had like a player who like single-handedly propped them up to like a mid-level defense. Like imagine that, I'd probably be picking them to go into the playoffs.
There are rumblings that Max Crosby could be on his way to Dallas relatively soon. Do you guys buy into that or no?
I mean, even if you buy it, are they any better? Like they still have a terrible secondary, right? Like they still have 10 other guys on that team that are just not, you replace one edge rusher. Did you all of a sudden get better? No, they were not even a good defense with Micah Parsons.
But
So
Ty,
Max Crosby,
they were middle of the pack with him on.
Yeah,
they were like 17.
Yeah.
But guys,
look at the
like
Bengals.
Ron Bland,
They had Trey Hendrickson and a better offense last year, and they still didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Ron Bland.
Deron Bland is a god at pick sixes, guys. You got to remember that.
Yeah, right.
It's big.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that 23 defense and the 24 defense, when it was mid or when the 23 and 22 defenses were quote unquote good, it is a lot of the havoc that Micah was bringing. And I think he's on a different tier than like Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson. But If I'm remembering correctly, I don't think the Raiders. I think the Raiders like discussed with Max Crosby and it was like, "Hey, yeah, we're getting a ton of calls, but we're not gonna
Yeah.
trade you." So that could be, I don't know, that could be false reporting, and they're actually looking at trading him, but they probably should. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
he kind of feels ingrained with that team. So
And their defense is terrible with him. So what you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's not like he's not really changing games, like I
Yeah,
mean,
it's not
no,
great.
well,
because their
the
team's so
Bears
bad.
game, the Bears game, he definitely did,
Yeah,
It's true.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Max Crosby's a
and they
weird
still
one
lost.
yeah.
because the Raiders are actually, like a team that they should be moving on from. It's almost like the Saints. It's like an inverted Saints situation with Alvin Kamara, where the Saints are getting calls to trade Alvin. He's like, I'm gonna go retire if you trade me. Whereas Max is,
Shout out to
I think
Alvin for that.
he just wants to stay, or that he's fine with leaving because I believe there was, I don't know, I genuinely don't know if this tweet was false or not, but it said he had followed a bunch of Cowboys players. That could have been a completely false tweet that I just saw scrolling through my feed. So he wants to leave, whereas the Raiders don't want to trade him, even though they should, right? Like they're kind of, like you said, Sterb, 100% in the situation to trade him currently. But we'll see what happens with the Raiders there. And the Cowboys, like you guys said, I agree. I don't see them making the playoffs. The Panthers are the only team that aren't better than them in the current playoff picture, that are higher than them in the standings. So I don't see the Cowboys being able to make it in. Yes, they're gonna put up some fight. They're gonna be in that wild card hunt probably the rest of the season, but I don't see them making it into the playoffs. Moving on to our final conversation before getting into our picks, we got NFL stocks. So are we buying or selling on different NFL teams across the league? Sturb's going to lead this one. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so we got 6 middle of the pack teams here. They're all at 3 or 4 wins, and I looked at Ty's power rankings and my power rankings, and they're all kind of in that middle tier of the NFL. We mentioned there's a lot of parity this year, so it's kind of like picking your flavor with these teams. And I'm going to give you guys a team, and then you're going to tell me if you're buying or selling, and then a quick reason why. All right, first up, we got the Bears at 4-2.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy the Bears. Like I talked about earlier, I think they got an easy schedule coming up. They kind of turned the corner in the run game, and I think that's helped Caleb a lot. So I'm gonna buy them.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy as well. I think very, very early on into the off season when the schedule came out, I said that they could be like a 10-12 win team. Like that. I just said that their schedule is that bad. And I think DA and this defense is finally clicking. That was a huge key for me for this team, was DA coming in with that defensive roster. I think he could turn around, and it's starting. So I think the Bears are definitely a team to buy on right now.
Yeah, I'm buying as well. Caleb in the pass game has been a little down, but the run game has really flourished these past couple weeks. And like you guys said, the defense has come back when it's healthy, and it looks great under DA right now. So I am buying. All right, next up we got the Chargers at 4-3.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy them. At some point in time, they're gonna get healthy, and we saw what kind of a team they could be healthy. It looks like Joe Alt's coming back this week. I just think that they're too talented. They're well coached, and they'll be able to sneak into the playoffs, and regain that early season form that they had. So I'm gonna buy them.
Yeah, I'll buy as well. I don't think any of the other. I think I'd put them above the Jaguars as a team, and I think they'll be in the playoffs in that 6 or 7 seed by the end of the year. I just think they're too good of a team on offense once they're healthy.
Yeah, I'm probably this is a tough one for me because I'm definitely buying that they're going to be a wild card team, but I just don't think this team is going to be healthy enough or gelled enough at playoff time to win a playoff game.
I can see
So
that.
compared to consensus, I feel like that's like right where consensus is. This has clearly been a team on the downturn. So I guess I'm holding, but like slightly selling.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. We next up we got the Steelers at 4-2.
I would. Here's my thing. I would say hold, because I think they could very easily win the division, but they're not a team that I don't think anyone is fearful of in the AFC, just because their defense. If any offense can replicate what the Bengals did last week, they can win games against the Steelers. The Steelers offense is solid with Aaron Rodgers. It was definitely an improvement over last year, but I don't think they're a team that can do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell them compared to the consensus. I think they'll make the playoffs, win the division, but like Jenks said, I don't think they can do anything in the playoffs. They're secondary. They're actually second to they're only ahead of Dallas in passing yards per game allowed. So they're kind of a defense that it's a question mark there too. And I don't think that they can win a playoff game. So I'm going to sell them compared to the consensus.
Yeah, I've kind of been beating the drum like all season that this defense is very, very fraudulent. Didn't get any disagreement from you guys there. And the offense is solid, but it's not good enough to overcome this defense. It's just old and slow, and it's failing to change right now. So I'm selling as well. I don't even think they win the division at this point. I think it's going to be someone else.
Yeah.
All right,
Just
next up we got
real quick. Yeah, I didn't realize all the teams they still have on that schedule. The schedule is very rough. They probably lose the Colts, probably the Bears at this point, the Bills, the Ravens when they're healthy, the Lions, and the Ravens again. So yeah,
Yeah,
you're
like
right.
I'm
Tough.
really not super confident that this is even like a top 20 team in the NFL, if I'm being honest. Like, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. And I think they're the favorites to win that division at like plus 130, but this team is bad. Like I don't know. I'm just selling.
The
Um
offense the offense is kind of in that spot though where it's like they're solid enough, I think, to win some games. It's just
I don't
it's
know.
how the defense plays. They can bounce back.
Yeah.
The offense is good. It's probably like 10th or 11th in the league off the top of my head. Not in like any stat in terms of like how I would rank them. But the defense is bottom 5.
Yeah.
So
What do you guys think of Jalen Ramsey this year? I mean,
he's been
been
extremely up
pretty
and
rough.
down. Like he's had a couple big plays, but he was just getting absolutely toasted.
He got
Yeah.
cooked last
Was
week.
that Thursday night?
Cooked.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't know. Like the Steelers, for me, it's like I could see them winning the division because they have such a lead on. Like Baltimore would be the only one that I was like, okay, they'd have a chance, but they're 1-5 right now. Like they themselves have a huge uphill climb, and I mean it's possible. It's tough. It's tough.
I mean, I don't. Is Cincy like out of the picture? Like I think 9-8 probably wins this division. If I'm being honest.
Genuinely, if Joe Flacco continues what he did last week and just gives the ball to his top weapons, like they could somehow make it out. It's
They're not going to
tough.
play the second to worst
Yeah,
secondary
and
every
This
week,
is
though.
true. That is true.
Here comes some DK Metcalf hate, but like after the first quarter, they pretty much just played too deep and then bracketed him, and then he did literally nothing the entire game. Like I don't really buy that an offense with like the top weapons being like Pat Freiermuth was by far the leading receiver in this game. Like is that really sustainable? And then like Jonnu, you got Darnell Washington.
Darnell
Like
Washington.
He's
it's
a
super
glorified left
funky.
tackle.
They
Yes.
NBC or was it no, it was Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football
Prime.
put 300 pounds as his weight, which is just I just
He's
feel like it's
definitely
messed up.
6'8", 300.
Yeah.
You think he is? I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
it's like
dude,
He's
270.
listed at like
looks like a
260, but
tackle.
he's not 260.
Yeah.
It's wild. He
Next
is a
time he's out
massive,
there, look at him
massive
next
player.
to the offensive lineman he's next to. He's just as big.
Yeah, it's like the KD being like 6'8" thing. Like it's just clearly not true.
I'm surprised they haven't thrown more fades to him in the red zone once you get down there, because a lot of the times you see a corner lined up against him. It's a tough. I mean, he's probably not the best hands wise,
Can't really
but
move either.
that is he's athletic for his size, but yeah, it is tough.
Or his
But
size, but
I could see
how
it.
well is he
could see it.
adjusting to a back shoulder fade? I don't know.
If you put it at like the 2-yard line, there's not too much. He just got to box out. He
They
just has to
should
box out.
do the
He's got
tight
to
end
post
push
up
motion.
and call for the ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just post up.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, Sterb. I
that's
side railed you from the other.
No, I like the Steelers conversation because I did the tango with them last year, and now they annoy me so much. Yeah, but all right, the Jags at 4-3. Are we buying or selling the Jags right now?
Selling.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell them too.
Selling.
Last game was pretty bad. And if I'm buying the Chargers to make like, I feel like I gotta sell with these guys, especially with the Chiefs rebounding. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there.
I've been low on T-Law all year this year, and he proved me right this past week. There was just some balls where he's just
I'm gonna
bad.
say this too. He's not getting help from his receivers. He like leads the
definitely.
league in like drops, or he's like second again. Like he's
Definitely.
constantly drop percentage with him. Maybe it's his passes, but every year they have receivers that drop the ball.
Just the mistakes that he makes are just so bad. It baffles my mind that he was considered a generational quarterback, right? When he comes in the draft process from Clemson, like it just boggles my mind that he's making this bad of rookie level mistakes time and time again through week 8 of his his third, fourth year in the league. It's just it is
No,
fourth
it's
or
like
fifth.
sixth.
Fifth?
Yeah, time's
Sixth.
been flying.
At least it's fifth. Dude,
I
him
think
and
it might be
Fields
his
were
fifth.
1 and 2 for their entire lives, like
No,
high
he was
school,
2020,
college.
right? 2020 class. It's his 6th year, I think.
That would be
No, 2020 was Burrow.
I think 2021.
Gotcha.
21. So
Yeah, you're
fifth
right.
year.
Yeah, 5th year.
That should be
So,
right.
Yeah, but I'm selling as well. I mean,
you're not jagging?
I'm selling on TiVo. However, this is why you don't pay like around 15 to 20 ranked quarterbacks, maybe like generously at that level, because it just clearly inhibits your team building for the next few years. But there's a lot of sloppy stuff right now with the Jags that I do feel like has to get cleaned up. It's like a matter of like they're due, like Travis Hunter like lining up off sides, not knowing the plays. He has a big game, mostly due to garbage time, but I didn't watch like a whole lot of this past week. I just kind of caught the second half because I'm on the West Coast, but I'm probably buying the Jags just because I think the run game is going to get going again. The defense didn't have Devin Lloyd this past week. That's like a huge miss from them. So I'm buying just for some regression, just for some positive regression. But looking at the playoff picture, I don't think they're going to make it. But relative to consensus, I would still say I'm higher on the Jags.
Yeah, let me
next
ask.
up we got,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
We'll finish this first. We'll finish this, Sterb. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Next up, we got the Falcons at 3-3.
Selling. 100% selling. Falcons for a reason.
I'm gonna buy them. I don't buy them as a playoff team, but I do think that they're better. I mean, they've had some strong wins. I don't know. I just believe in Bijan's ability to carry this team. The defenses look better. I do think that Penix can play better football too. I mean, I've kind of seen it. I know Jenks is an avid Michael Penix hater, but I don't think that he's
You
absolutely
loved Penix coming into the draft.
I did love Penix
Yeah,
coming into the draft.
he started hating him when he went to the Falcons. He's just if he played for the Saints, he'd be glazing him.
Let me explain the dichotomy that is Michael Penix Jr. Coming into the draft, yes, very, very high on Michael Penix Jr. I believe that he's a guy that could change a franchise, right? But I never believed that he was a top. He was the number 9 pick, right? I never believed that he was a top of the first round talent. I believed he was maybe end first round going into the second round talent. I think that's kind of where I had him. And when the Falcons took him, I was very surprised, first of all, because they had Kirk Cousins. Second of all, it just didn't seem like the right, I don't know, it wasn't the right spot for him. I feel like he could have been a better quarterback for a different team where he is maybe the starter right away, or he develops longer and doesn't have to worry about Kirk Cousins breathing down his neck in his first season into this year, even if he continues to play poorly. But Michael Penix Jr., for the Falcons, he has every single weapon around him that you could possibly imagine. You name a weapon at a position that you want good weapons at, they have it. They have Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts, who has stepped a little bit up this season. He's kind of stepping into that role. Yeah, he's stepping into that role that we kind of all imagine. All the fantasy owners are like, this is his year. This is his year. This may be his year. He's finally starting to step up. And then Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, right? Like you have all the possible weapons, and he's making inaccurate throws at a pretty high rate. And it's just not what you want to see from a guy. I don't think he's making good reads. Against the Bills, I said this a few weeks ago, he tried to throw that game away. There were a few balls that should have been picked against the Bills that could have changed that outcome. And I just think the Falcons, as solid of a team as they are, I think their defense is solid. I just don't buy. I wouldn't buy them right now as a team that's going to continue to improve versus kind of be mid where they're at right now.
You want to go Ty or should I?
I'm not going to battle him on Penix anymore. He's never going to change his mind. Kirk Cousins. I mean, to think that Kirk Cousins is breathing down his neck after he took his job, like they're not going back to Kirk Cousins.
If
they're talking about,
you're paying him money.
Him.
Yeah, Then trade him. You got to trade him already.
If you're paying him all the
Why
money,
keep him?
why'd they bench him last year?
Why are they keeping him? Why are they keeping Kirk Cousins around? There is no good
I don't know.
reasons
There's
unless
not
you
enough
are thinking
interest.
about putting him in.
There's no
just-
chance that they're just going to go back to
There's
him
just
after
no reason.
Michael Penix has 8 games under his belt. 8 games.
This season, he has not looked good. He has not looked good.
He has had games this
The
season.
not
that
his
he is
fault
looking-
meters at 0 for Penix, I will say. Like
He has for
What do you mean?
sure had games where he's looked good.
the amount of excuses you can make up for Michael Penix underperforming, even with the lack of experience, it's a very short list. You know what I mean? Compared to other quarterbacks, or like you can make that excuse for Jackson Dart, you can make that excuse for Bo Nix, you can make that excuse for all these other quarterbacks. You can make it more for JJ McCarthy than you can, Michael Penix. But I don't know. I think he has so much around him. He has a play caller that I like. And then like Jenks said, you have all the weapons you could really possibly want. And if those weapons aren't good enough, like one, I don't know what you're smoking, but like two, you spent all this draft capital on them. So this defense really has.
Because Kirk wasn't able to do it unless he was throwing the ball 50 times.
He started 6-3 last year.
Kirk was doing very, very good until teams realized that like this guy isn't taking more than 3 steps once he gets the ball, and then
and
like,
that's the same
we're just going to blitz
Penix.
him
Penix
because he can't move.
Penix can't move.
He can move more than Kirk Cousins could.
Michael Penix Jr. is 32nd in adjusted EPA right now, just above Dylan Gabriel, Geno Smith, Jake Browning, and Cam Ward.
Isn't he ahead of Rattler?
Rattler is currently 12th in adjusted EPA.
Oh, what the hell's the
Hashtag not his fault
versus EPA?
Not his fault.
It's like
pass
protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions, fumble recoveries.
I bought into EPA. Yeah. I can't get onto advanced fucking adjusted this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
it for the most part is better because, like you mentioned, the stuff with like Trevor Lawrence drop rate, it does try to account for that at least. But I'm probably still buying the Falcons. They were my division winner for the NFC South coming into the year. Again, I just thought the offense is going to be so overpowering, and then like there's so much volatility in the NFC South from year to year. And I don't like the Bucs. I don't like the Bucs at all. They're so annoying. And I know I'm supposed to hate the Falcons more, but like historically, yes. Right now, it's the Bucs, and it's not close. So the defense has really turned it around, and they have some up and down performances, obviously. But the bar was very, very low for me coming into the year. So they're showing signs of life. I don't think the consensus probably has them as a playoff team at this point, which is why I'm buying them, I would say. But yeah, that's kind of my spiel on the Falcons.
You got any more teams?
All right, we done with Penix or?
Yeah, I can't talk with this guy about fucking Michael Penix anymore.
All right, the last team is the Vikings at 3-3.
I'm gonna sell them because I think eventually they're gonna go to JJ McCarthy and be a worse football team.
Yeah,
I think that they're better off with Carson Wentz. They've competed in a lot of games that there's no chance that they're in that Philly game with JJ McCarthy. No chance they're in that game in London.
Wentz had some pretty horrible plays in that one, but I don't think JJ McCarthy would have done
pretty horrible plays, but
better based on what he showed.
Yeah, and I think that I don't know. Sometimes that veteran presence, it's just, I don't know. He makes some plays and obviously has some pretty horrific plays. But JJ, I mean, he had some.
I don't see positives. Yeah, I would say sell. If anything, I'd hold right now for a week or two until they go back to JJ. See if Carson gets another win or two. But I think I would sell, especially if JJ McCarthy comes back in for the majority of the season. It was weird with the Eagles game, right? Is because every time I'm looking at that game, you see Carson Wentz make a bad play. But then I look back 2 seconds later and the Vikings have the ball. They're still in the game. I'm like, how the hell are they still in this game? And they made it close towards the end. I don't think JJ McCarthy is a good quarterback. And it's making that Sam Darnold decision of letting him walk instead of paying him look really bad, especially if they don't make the playoffs and the Seahawks go to the playoffs and succeed in the playoffs. It would be bad look.
Jettas has to be pissed right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that the consensus has this team like very, very, very low right now. Like the consensus probably has them finishing at like 7 or 8 wins. So I would say I'm probably slightly above that line. So I guess I'm buying, but the O-line is still banged up. The defense can only be Brian Flores can only do so much when the offense isn't like holding its weight, and it did in this past game. But I don't really think it's that sustainable. That Eagles CB2 spot has been absolute food for everyone this year. So it was kind of just Jordan Addison having a field day and doing whatever he wanted. So I don't think that's that sustainable. So I don't have this team making the playoffs or anything, but I would say I'm slightly ahead of consensus. So I'm buying.
Sterb, is that it? I didn't want to ask the question anymore.
That's
Now
it.
we're
That's
long.
it.
We're long. But so I guess we'll move on to picks now. We'll try to kind of speed run through these because we're adding topics, so now picks should be a little bit shorter, just so you guys don't have to listen to us ramble on for 2 hours about football.
Michael Penix
It could be peak content. It could be peak content talking for 2 hours about Spencer
stuff,
Rattler. But getting
we're
right
not
in,
talking about that fucking guy.
getting right into our Pickem group leaders for the week through 7 weeks of the NFL season. Ryan is on top by himself at 74 wins. Ty is tied for second at 73. Cooper is tied at fourth for 72. Rakija and the Penix Fluffer are at 71. Hammer is at 69. Nice. Tied with a few other people. I'm at 68, tied with Dome Patrol. And Sterb is down there at 20th at 60.
Top 20, baby.
Wins. Top 20. It's right where where you want us.
Sterb is holding on to being on the screen. Like every week,
Yeah,
I think it's right there.
I'm adjusting the screen each week to make it stretch a little bit wider. But anyways, moving right into our week 8 picks. Starting off with Thursday night football, you got the Vikings taking on the Chargers. And this one could be a fun game. I think all Thursday night football games so far have really been pretty entertaining. They've all come down to pretty much the last second. And I think the Chargers are a team, right, that although their offense is down a few players, they still look somewhat solid. They made the game closer than I expected with the Colts after the start of that game. They came back and made it, less. It would look really bad on paper if it just ended the way it started. And the Vikings on the other side kept the game close with the Eagles, who are a better team than the Chargers at this point in time. I could see the Vikings be able to pull this one out, but I'm going to have to go with the Chargers here in LA. I think the Chargers offense will be able to keep them afloat. They have good weapons. Quentin Johnston really has taken a leap this year, and I think that's really good to see. I think Justin Herbert trusts all three of his main weapons, and Oronde Gadsden, who is absolutely balling out, is someone that, I think a lot of people were low on going into the season, but he was a perfect pick for the Chargers and a guy that I was looking for in all of the rookie dynasty drafts. But he's a guy that is going to continue to improve week in, week out. So I think the Chargers are going to get rolling here. I got the Chargers. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Vikings in this one.
Sterb?
Yeah, I got the Chargers. I hope you listened to Jenks and I's advice about the rookie rankings in the dynasty draft this summer. We mentioned Gadsden there. We were both super high on him. But yeah, I got the Chargers here.
He was huge. Moving on to the Dolphins taking on the Falcons. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, Dolphins. I mean, they're a team that's already looking to 2026, right? They're talking about being sellers at the deadline with some of their edge rushers. I think the biggest question for Miami right now is, do we and when do we see Quinn Ewers kind of take over the reins? We saw him get into the game last week. They said they're not going to make a change yet, but Tua really, really struggled. And I don't think that he's going to have a great game this week against an Atlanta defense that's, playing at a really high level right now as well.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side, I think, Atlanta, the question, right, as we talked about earlier, is like, can this offense get back on track? What does it look like with Penix, especially in the passing game? He is hurt. He's got the foot injury right now. I think regardless of who they have under center, though, Bijan Robinson's going to have a huge, huge day. Miami is, I think, dead last in rushing yards per game. Yeah, dead last in rushing yards per game allowed right now. So I think Bijan just has the ability to carry this team against a poor Miami Dolphins team. So I'm going to go with the Falcons here in a pretty easy one.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, stick a fork in Miami. They're done. I got Atlanta here.
Yeah, give me the Falcons as much as it hurts me to say it.
I saw it on your face. You hated that.
You can see the hate.
Give me Michael Penix to win this week.
Yeah.
I can't. Anyways, moving on to the Bears taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are trying to start that comeback trail. Sterb, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so when Baltimore's on offense, it's really just a matter of whether Lamar plays or not. He was limited at practice today. It's still a game time decision for him, or status is up in the air for him to play Sunday. And then, how different does this defense look schematically for Baltimore? Something else is another thing I'm watching. Zach Orr kind of took a while to make adjustments last season. I think it was like week 13 that they started moving around Kyle Hamilton again. And then Chicago, when they're on offense, like the run game looks really, really good. The run defense as well for them has really stepped it up. They were down there with Miami in rushing yards allowed per game. They've taken a bit of a step up. That could be just like some variance there, but I'm looking for Caleb to bounce back. Like I mentioned, we were discussing the Bears earlier. But I'm going to go with Baltimore here, assuming that Lamar plays. If he doesn't, then I'll probably go with the Bears.
Yeah, give me the Bears here. No matter if Lamar plays or not, I'm taking the Bears. Ty, who do you got?
I'm with you. Give me the Bears.
Moving on to Buffalo, taking on Carolina. The Panthers are going to be without Bryce Young here, most likely, with Andy Dalton taking over the reins. The Bills looking to come out of a bye week hot. There's not too much to say. I don't think the Panthers will be able to keep up with the Bills' offense here. They beat the Jets in a close game. It was a really ugly game against the Jets last week. I think the Bills are a much better team than the Jets. I don't think nothing needs to be added there. So give me the Bills beating the Panthers. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Bills.
Sterb?
Yeah, Bills.
Yeah, there's not too much thought going on there. Ty, the Jets, moving on to the Jets taking on the Bengals. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Jets, another team looking at 2026 already with some more quarterback uncertainty. Looks like we maybe get Tyrod Taylor. He is a little bit banged up, but it does feel like that's the move. Whether it's this week or next week, they're going to move on from Justin Fields. Woody Johnson came out and basically trashed him. He said, "What is Aaron Glenn supposed to do when the quarterback plays that bad?" That is an
It's not a
insane
good
thing.
look.
You signed him, buddy. So that's crazy. On the other side, Cincinnati kind of found something last week against, maybe a Pittsburgh Steelers team that isn't that great on the defensive side of the ball, but it was promising to see. Flacco doesn't even know all the plays right now, and he was able to make plays with Chase and Higgins. I think the big thing for Cincinnati was just that Chase Brown was able to get the ball rolling in the run game. That was a huge struggle for them in the first couple weeks. They kind of figured it out. Interested to see how does that move going forward, but I think Cincinnati's just a better team here. The Jets, they might not win a football game. They maybe they beat Miami late in the season, but I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Cincinnati here. That cornerback 2 spot, like I mentioned previously, for the Jets has been horrible, and now Sauce may be out. So, like, they have literally no chance in hell of stopping the Cincinnati wide receivers.
Yeah, give me Joe Flacco leading the Bengals to victory in the revenge game over the Jets. Moving on to the 49ers taking on the Texans here. Sterb, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when Houston's on offense, like it's absolutely just miserable right now. Like we mentioned in previous weeks, Stroud is clearly getting rattled on a play-to-play basis with his pressure rate increasing, even when it's not there. It feels like it's there for him. So I mean, they're just doing wrong by their young quarterback right now. And then this San Francisco defense is like, they really stepped it up last week, and I was very, very impressed. I dropped them considerably in my power rankings when Fred Warner went out. He is mostly a one-man defense. I feel like he's clearly the heartbeat of that defense. But I didn't expect them to look this good. And that could be just like a one-game thing, small sample size, but Robert Saleh really has this unit firing right now. And it was a lot of guys that I feel like the average NFL fan has never heard of coming in and playing well. So and when San Francisco's on offense, it's just a matter of like who's going to step up, whether it's going to be like, as long as they have one of the guys in, it's going to be them. Like we saw it with CMC last week. We saw it with Bourne, like the 2 previous weeks to that. Like it's just always someone that's going to ball out, and they're going to produce. And it's kind of been that regardless of opponent, like especially against like Seattle and Houston, kind of similar to your defense for me. And it sucks because like this Houston defense is just being wasted. I think they're probably like the second best in the league off the top of my head. If everyone's healthy, just behind Seattle and a tier with Denver. But yeah, I got San Francisco in this one.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me San Fran. No clue how they're underdogs. So if you can bet, hammer this one. Give me San Fran.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll come up later in our snake draft for the locks and underdogs. Give me the 49ers here. I just think that Texans O-line is going to be the death of them, and possibly CJ Stroud. Sadly enough, like the injury, he's just getting clobbered left and right, which just sucks to see. Moving on to the Browns taking on the Patriots. The Browns, that they're kind of a scrappy team right now. They did just blow out the Dolphins, and their offense is sort of diving into that run first mindset. And they do have Harold Fannin, David Njoku should be back in this one. Jerry Jeudy.
Don't even.
Kidding. Anyways, I've
Trash.
evolved away from my Jerry Jeudy a toxic relationship, so I'm out of that. I got myself out of that abusive relationship with him. I've
You
moved
keep your
on.
car,
You guys should be
essentially.
Yeah, you guys should be proud of me. But anyways, the Browns could make this one a little bit interesting, but I got to take the Patriots. They're too hot right now. Hint for a later segment, but I think the Patriots come out and win this one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Patriots. And please, Mike Vrabel, start giving the ball to Travion Henderson. I'm so tired of seeing Ramondre Stevenson. Travion Henderson is projected 5 points this week. And somehow on Sleeper, they say, the Patriots still expect Travion Henderson to be a major part of their offense. Then give him the goddamn football. Give me the Patriots.
Sterb,
Yeah, no, I think it's probably over for Travion Henderson probably this season. Ramondre last game looked like pretty decent because he wasn't fumbling the ball. But these are two different tiers of team right now. Give me the Patriots.
Moving on to the New Jersey Giants. They lost last week, so they earned New Jersey back. Taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Ty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because the Giants obviously dominated their last matchup against Philly. Although Philly was a bit banged up. No Nakobe Dean, no Jalen Carter. Quinyon Mitchell went out for a little bit. So I think that played a huge factor in the game. And it was a bit of a different Philly team. Giants looked good last week for the first 3 quarters. Can they finish, right? Like, I think New York kind of has some question marks, maybe more centered around Daboll and what he was doing with time management at the end of that game. But, there was just some stupid mistakes. Jackson Dart throwing the interception. And I don't know. This team I think they're moving in the right direction, but I still think they have some things to figure out. And I think Philly kind of figured something out, right? They still haven't quite figured out the run game, but the pass game was super duper impressive. AJ Brown does have a hamstring injury that could, play a factor in all of this. But like I said, Quinyon Mitchell being healthy, Nakobe Dean being healthy, who played a really good game last week in Minnesota, Jalen Carter being healthy. I think those are all 3, obviously they're 3 key players on their defense, but it's a huge factor in this game. This game is in Philly. I'm going to take Philly. I think even if A.J. Brown does miss some time, Devonta Smith has shown the ability to step up as a wide receiver 1. They still got Goddard. They got some weapons. I'm going to take Philly in this one in Philly. Yeah.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me Philly in the got our chain snatched by fourth quarter Bo Nix Bowl.
Give me Philly as well. I think no matter who the receiver 1 is for the Eagles, they should be able to pull this one out. Deontay Banks and Paulson Adebo are not going to be winning the Giants any games.
Cordell Flott. If Cordell Flott plays, he's a dog.
He's solid. But I just think, we saw Deontay Banks just get shredded in that.
That was because Adebo went out, though. It was Adebo and Flott. Adebo went out, and if Deontay has to play, yes. But if Adebo can play, it's a little bit better. But Banks
Adebo, former Saint, got to give him props. If he gets a flag, he'll get a pick right after that. But anyways, moving on from this one, we got the Bucs taking on the New Orleans Saints. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, so when New Orleans is on offense, it's just going to be like, don't turn the ball over for Rattler, just because, this Tampa Bay defense is kind of a run funnel, or a pass funnel, sorry. When Vita Vea is on the field, especially, Detroit's one explosive run came on that big Jahmyr Gibbs play, or not one explosive run, but the most explosive run of the night came on that Jahmyr Gibbs play where it was like a long touchdown. Vita Vea went out for like one play, and then that happened. So I think they kind of learned their lesson there and are probably going to try and get him some more snaps. But then Rattler just kind of needs to take what's given to him and pretty much treat like the short pass game as the run game, because we haven't been particularly good in the run game this year. Like I mentioned, like Tampa Bay has a rush success rate allowed of 33.1, which is 4th ranked in the NFL. And New Orleans doesn't have a Jahmyr Gibbs. So Tampa Bay also allowed pressure rate on offense of 37% last week, and New Orleans had a 39.3. You got, I think, like 2 or 3 backups in the O-line there, and Baker is, unfortunately, for the Baker truth is out there, he's creating some of his own pressures right now. And it's really just a matter of like how quickly this pass rush gets to Baker, because even against like Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson, whoever it's going to be at wide receiver, because their injury report is a laundry list right now. This New Orleans secondary is very able to get gashed. So I'm on my hater grind right now. So especially for Tampa, I'm going to take New Orleans. Baker said New Orleans plays dirty. He basically said that in the media. I don't know. Is it logical? No. Is it an in-division rivalry? Yes. Am I going with New Orleans? Yes.
I am shocked. Ty, who do you got?
Sterb must love that number 20 spot on the rankings. I'll say that. Give me Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Tampa Bay here too, because I was being Sterb the last. Hear me out. I was being Sterb the last 7 weeks. I was like, I believe in the Saints, and then they would just let me down. And then it breaks the heart a little bit. Moving on from that toxic relationship as well, as far as picks go. So give me the Bucs, even though they do have like 8 or if not more DNPs this week on the injury
it's
chart.
In the dome too.
It is in the dome. It's a home game. First rivalry game for the Saints. They could make it interesting. Would love Spencer. I would love to lose this pick, but I'm gonna have to take the Bucs as far as Pickem picks go. Moving on to the Cowboys taking on the Broncos. Ty, this is probably one of the best games of the week. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean the Javonte Williams revenge game, right? He gets to go up against a team that didn't believe in him. Yeah, it kind of hurts that we're not going to have Drake Greenlaw this week. Obviously, if you did not see, he got suspended for verbally assaulting a referee after the referee shoved one of his teammates. Whatever, stupid bonehead thing to do. But
are you defending? Were you defending there for a second the verbal assault of a ref?
Yeah, because he was garbage. So he was trash. He should get verbally.
Jenks is actually going to suspend you for next week.
Yeah, you're now suspended from the pod.
Whatever. No, Greenlaw kind of does suck because you're going against an offense that's really, really good. Something to keep a close eye on is the George Pickens versus Riley Moss. Riley Moss has played well this season. He is one of the most targeted corners, has a low completion percentage, but George Pickens is the type of receiver that gives Riley Moss some trouble. T. Higgins, bigger body guy, last year gave him some trouble. Obviously, this year, a little bit of a different story, but with a far worse quarterback. So that's something to keep an eye on the defensive side of the ball. I think Denver's defense is top tier, but this Dallas offense, they're also top tier, right? On the flip side, what's Sean Payton going to do, right? He comes out in the media this week and he says, we need to start fast. Okay, Sean, how about we call some plays like you do in the fourth quarter, right? Because Bo Nix in the fourth quarter, to me, looked like a top 10 quarterback. Bo Nix in the first 3 quarters looked like a bottom 10 quarterback because, given the opportunities to make plays, right? It's screen, run the ball, run the ball with your fullback. Like the play calling doesn't make sense. His receivers aren't necessarily helping him at times too, but I think a lot of it does boil down to what is Sean Payton doing? And it got to the point where people are calling for, outside of me, right? I've been calling for Davis Webb for a little bit now, but the media is starting to ask him the question, are you going to make changes in the offensive play calling? He said that they're comfortable. Okay, well, let's see something out of you, Sean. Let's see a little bit of a change, right? Because in order to evaluate Bo Nix, in order to evaluate this offense, we need to see consistency through 4 quarters. Obviously, that comes in the execution, but I think a large majority, like I said, comes in the play calling. I do think that Denver is obviously set up for success with how bad this defense is. No, as I mentioned earlier, no Trayvon Diggs probably this week with a concussion. They're already one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. Actually, literally the worst pass defense in the NFL. So I'm going to take Denver in this one. I think that, the positioning of having a really good defense against a really good offense, it's kind of null to me. I think that Denver probably has a little bit more success there too because Cowboys offensive line's banged up. I think Cooper, Benito, etc. have some success there. And the Dallas defense, they're just terrible. Dallas also hasn't beat the Broncos since 1995 over 7 games. So let's make it one more. Give me Denver.
They're due.
Nah. They haven't beat them since the Emmitt Smith Troy Aikman days, back with Jimmy Johnson. Actually, that might have been Barry Switzer.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah. Again, I'm 20th in the rankings with Dallas. If it's not
there we go.
with Dallas, like I mentioned, it is like kind of a 50-50 game for pretty much whoever they play. I think they're dead even middle of pack team. But if they're playing like probably anywhere in my power rankings, like 7 to 25 off the top of my head, I'm just going to take whoever I think is going to be picked less because it makes more sense for me to try and catch up. I do think this is a 50-50 game. Like Denver has that massive home field advantage. Like Ty said, I think the George Pickens matchup is, not a bright spot for Denver. This is really just going to turn into a shootout, and I'm kind of betting on the quarterback that's playing a little better and is not being hampered by his offensive coordinator right now. So, I'll take the 50-50 shot on Dallas.
Give me the Broncos here. I do think it could be a close and fun matchup, though. Similar to prior weeks with the Broncos, right? It could be a close game to the end. But give me the Broncos eking this one out at home in Denver. Moving on to the Titans taking on the Colts. Give me the Colts. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, Colts, easy one.
Sterb, who do you got?
Colts.
Yeah, not wasting any breath on that one. Moving on to Sunday Night Football. We got the Packers taking on the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, revenge game over the Packers in Pittsburgh, wearing the most atrocious uniforms we may ever see in the NFL. Ty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, Steelers' second worst passing defense in the NFL, right ahead of Dallas. I think for me, the key to the game for Green Bay is, can Jordan Love avoid making bonehead mistakes, turn the football over, and can he take advantage of a secondary that, is porous, right? He should be able to, with the receivers that he has on the outside, with Tucker Kraft, with how good their run game is, they should be able to establish the pass game. And I think it just comes down to, how well can he play and can he avoid those mistakes, like I said. On the flip side, right, the Steelers, they protect Rodgers pretty well. I think, Micah had his best game thus far last week. Can he do that again, right? They like to protect 6, 7 sometimes, right? Like, not 6, 7. I didn't. God damn it. I hate that I just said that. But, Darnell Washington, right? They keep him in to block. They chip with the backs. They're doing anything that they can to protect Rodgers right now. But like Sterb said, it kind of gets easier when you can just bracket DK and they don't really have weapons outside of him that are truly a threat. And Green Bay is also second against the run. So they need Rodgers and DK to have a lot of success because they don't have great backs. Warren and Gainwell have had good games, but against one of the better run defenses in the NFL, you're not going to have a lot of success. So I'm going to go with Green Bay here. I know it's the Rodgers reunion. He'll probably be hyped up, but yeah, those uniforms probably give them like a bump or a negative bump by like 2 points. So
did you guys see the helmet placement of the sticker?
No.
I'll find that. I'll find that and pull it up in a little
bit.
But
I'm looking at
what do you got?
Yeah, there's just no way Aaron Rodgers is winning against the Packers in this jersey. Like, it's not going to happen. There's no way. Imagine him like getting post-game interviewed with this jersey on. It's just not going to happen. I had Green Bay anyways before I even saw the uniforms they were wearing. But yeah, I'm going Green Bay.
Yeah, give me Green Bay as well, but I think it could be one of those games that's made close. I think Jordan Love, like you said, Ty, with the weapons he has around him, he should be playing at such a higher level than he is. And maybe that's limited by Matt LaFleur, right? There's a lot of people and Packers fans upset with him, but Jordan Love has to be able to step up at some point and truly ball out. So give me the Packers, but it could
that
be
adjusted EPA per play. That adjusted EPA per play, I'm pretty sure is top 3. Just saying.
Yeah,
he's at 8 now. He is at 8.
Bonehead.
He's at 8.
Like, it's like, what are you throwing on some of these picks? And I think that puts them in closer games than they should be.
Another gotcha, I told you so moment for Jenks. Just saying.
All right.
That was still top 10 for me. I have
big gripe on Jordan Love all off season.
I got a plot coming out on Twitter. It's almost done. It's almost done, but it will refute it will refute and defend Jordan Love.
Anyways, moving on to Monday Night Football, we got the Commies taking on the Chiefs. Sterb, what are your thoughts on this one? This could be rough.
Yeah, we kind of talked about the Chiefs' offense already. Like it's obviously really good. If you've been living under a rock for like 5 weeks, but this Washington secondary is like pretty old, pretty washed. Unfortunately, we won't name who's there because he's a Saints legend. But when Washington's on offense, like you got no Jane Daniels, you got no Jane Daniels. The run game has not been as efficient, and that was kind of a high bar. It was like they were like second in rushing efficiency by like success rate and EPA per play. I think like 2 weeks ago, and I don't know where they rank now, but it's definitely not that. And then I kind of did my Chiefs defense glaze a little bit with Noah Williams there. So there's really not much to say in this one. I mean, Casey's kind of just a juggernaut right now, so I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels is out. Give me the Chiefs as well. It's gonna. I don't think the Commanders have a shot. Ty, who do you got?
Chiefs.
Yeah, nothing much to add there. Teams on bye are the Cardinals, Lions, Jags, Raiders, Rams, and Seahawks. So good amount of bye weeks this week, and a lot of fantasy teams are getting hurt by that. But this is a decent slate of games. I think a good amount of these games should be pretty close and should be fun to watch. Anyways, moving into our rapid fire discussions for the week, starting off with our new segment of the season.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
Our Hansel, so hot right now, player of the week. Sterb, this is your guy, so you debut the segment. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be Drake May. He's on an absolute heater right now. It feels like every deep pass that he's attempting is being completed. He's winning down the field. He's winning in pretty much every way you can think of. There's nothing that he's really not doing at an elite level right now. And we debated some other guys, but how often are you going to have a record setting for completion percentage in a week in a franchise with Tom Brady? So it feels like this award is his right now. I think he's second in MVP odds behind Mahomes now. So yeah, Drake May.
Yeah, Ty, what do you have to add about Drake May?
No, I mean the 90% completion percentage kind of did it for me this week. Like that's just absurd. Yeah, he's my number 2 quarterback right now behind Mahomes too. So
yeah, he's on a roll, and he doesn't have like the flashiest weapons out of a lot of these top quarterbacks, right? I mean, he's getting Kayshon Boutte to ball out, who's been a solid receiver. Stephon Diggs is obviously still solid, but he's just working with what he has and making smart plays efficiently, and he's making a lot of really, really good throws, and the production is there as well. So nothing more positive to say about I can't be more positive about things to say for Drake May. Moving on to our week 8 underdog and locks snake draft of the week. You get 2 locks and 1 underdog. Locks are worth +2 points, -3 if you get them wrong. Underdogs are worth +3 points, -1 if you get them wrong. Sterb, you came in first this past week, so you get to pick what spot you want on the draft board. Where are you going to pick?
I'm going to go 101 again this week.
Okay. I came in second, so I'll pick the turn. I'll go with 3. So Ty, that leaves Ty in the middle. Sterb, who's gonna be your first pick here?
Yeah, Ty kind of hinted at this earlier. I didn't know how you guys were gonna feel about it, but it feels like the underdog clearly for me is the Niners.
Yep, I do agree there. Ty, who do you got?
give me the Colts as my first lock.
Ooh, I like it. There's not a whole lot of underdogs here, so I'm going to go with the Bears as my first underdog pick. And then my lock is going to be the Chiefs here in this one. Ty, who do you got as number 2?
I'm going to take the Bills as my second lock.
Ooh, I like it. Sterb, who do you got?
Give me the Patriots.
Patriots, and then who's going to be
turn
on the
here.
turn? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Falcons over the Dolphins.
Okay. Ty, who's your lock or your underdog of the week going to be? It's kind
Give
of
me
tough.
the Vikings.
The Vikings. Ooh. That leaves me with a few teams to pick from for my locks. I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Buffalo. I don't think there's any shot they lose to the Panthers. If they do,
No, no, no.
it'd be
Buffalo
buddy.
already went.
Whoa,
Didn't you
no,
just
they-
take
oh
Buffalo?
tie. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
Okay.
god, I completely overlooked it. Give me
You can go with Carolina.
Nike. Give me
We'll give you half an extra point.
give me New England over.
No,
I took New
Sterb just
England.
took the Patriots, bro.
Bro,
I have it
you
here in
gotta
front of
lose
me.
your pick at some
No,
point.
I literally have it here in front of me too. That's the sad thing.
You automatically lose this.
If you
Who's
name another
left?
team that's already taken, you're getting
Yeah.
the Panthers.
Give me my
He's gonna
own,
pick
my
the
own pick.
Chiefs again.
You know, the sad thing is I wrote Buffalo already as my pick right next to Ty's pick. I literally typed it in right next to it too.
Jesus.
Just a terrible crap. Give me the Bengals. Give me Joe in the revenge game. I believe in it. That could be a terrible pick in the end, but give me Cincy. I like it. Moving on from the snake draft into our fantasy sleeper of the week. Ty, who's your fantasy sleeper of the week going to be?
Yeah, guy I've gone to before. Give me Marvin Mims. Dallas, like we said, dead last in passing yards per game. And Mims quietly has had a pretty good, I won't say a pretty good season because he hasn't been targeted a lot. But when he has been targeted, 113.9 passer rating, which is obviously outstanding. Last week he went 6 for 85 and 15.8 fantasy points. I think he's, especially if this game turns into a shootout, he's in for a big game. So give me Marvin Mims as a nice little flex play there.
Sterb, who's going to be your fantasy sleeper of the week?
Yeah, I like ties. I debated having a Bronco because one of them is going to hit, but like nailing that player down a little hard sometimes. So I went with Tyler Algier versus Miami. This game could get out of hand pretty quickly. And if you're looking for like a desperation, flex play, RB play, I think Tyler Algier is a pretty decent bet to like break one off for a touchdown. And let's just say like they get up by 20 at half. I don't think that's out of the possibilities there, and it could just be a lot of Algier from there on out. So
yeah, I got two that I'll go through real quick. I got Tez Johnson versus the Saints defense with just Amika as the other receiver there, and then Xavier Legette versus the Bills. Xavier Legette with Andy Dalton had a really good game last week, and I think that continues against a Bills defense that hasn't been the best in the past game. So give me either of those two, your choice. If you're a fantasy player out there, both of those guys should be solid flex plays for your fantasy teams. Moving on to our hot takes of the week. Ty, what's your hot take of the week going to be?
Yeah, my hot take of the week is that Spencer Rattler is going to get benched this week for Tyler Shuck.
Sterb is not a fan at all. He's giving you the stank face. Sterb,
I knew it was coming.
What is your hot take of the week going to be, Sterb?
my hot take is that Bo Nix and Sean Payton get into a fight in the middle of the second quarter. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, that's not out of the picture. He's yelled at him before.
Start fist fighting on the sideline.
No, my hot take is that the 49ers hold the Texans to 10 or less points. Like I said, that Niners defense is like it's firing on all cylinders, even with Fred Warner out. This could look really bad. But they might not have Nico Collins this week, and then that O-line is just absolutely abysmal. So yeah, 10 or less points for the Texans against the Niners this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure how big of a hot take this is going to be, but give me Aaron Rodgers throwing for 3+ touchdowns and 250+ yards against his old team, and then still losing to the Packers, similar to last week, where I think you could have a game-leading drive, take the lead, and then just get
in those uniforms.
Yes, in those uniforms. Maybe that makes it even worse that he just gets up there and then just loses. But I don't think anyone wants to see this team win with these uniforms on. It just would be a rough look for the NFL.
No one wins.
And just encourage them to wear them even more. They'd be like, oh, our record's good with them. And it's just, no, come on, don't do it to us. Anyways, that'll do it for our hot take segment. Do you guys have any closing thoughts to add before we end the episode?
I've talked enough.
Not really.
Anyways, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Jenks Island podcast. You guys know where to check us out on social media at Jenks Island and wherever you get your podcasts at Jenks Island as well. We'll see you guys next week for week 9. I don't have anything else to add. I was going to add something, just completely blanked. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week.